Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasul Kareem Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasma kathira. So we're starting the programming class with Python. Python is a name for a type of snake. So we also have Anaconda. So Python is just a name given to this programming language due to many reasons which has been mentioned, though we don't need to understand all these meanings. So we will start without wasting time. So Python is one of the programming languages that is very easy to learn because the codes usually be like, it's always sounding like English. So it's easy for you to write something in Python and another person who reads it can easily understand what you want the programming to do. So unlike JavaScript, so sometimes if you write some codes in JavaScript, you might not be able to know what it means or what you want the programming language to be used for. But the case with Python is not the same. So Python is pretty easy because it's just like an English word. So once you write it, you can easily know what the program, what it does. So Python was actually a programming language which many people use for many things they do, like machine learning, web designing, or web scraping, data analysis, data wrangling. All of these things we use Python programming for it. So this is one of the reasons why I felt that we should start with Python programming language. Python is also very easy to code. It's not a program that is difficult to write. It's very easy. It's a high level programming language. No, it's a high level. When I say high level, I mean it can be used for multiple things. So yet it's not difficult to learn. So Python is also very easy to read. We can read Python programming easily. So Python code is very simple. It looks like English words. Python has a lot of free and open sources. And when I say free and open source, you can easily go to documentation about Python and see a lot of information about it. So, and Python has a very robust library. When I say robust library, I mean a library, which means that how you can, I mean, the kind of applications you want to use. So the kind of applications you want to use, all of these things, you can find it in Python. So it can also be interpreted. Python is portable. Python is also object-oriented and procedure-oriented. So if you say something is object-oriented, is when you're writing the programming language, you can easily make it in object form. So you can also use a procedural way to write the programming language. So these are the two ways in which this programming language is actually written. So inshallah, I would move on to the next slide, which is about how to install the programming language. Although I'm gonna encourage you to use the online Replit, which I already told you about yesterday for now. So subsequently, inshallah, we will start using we will start talking about installation. So I would just talk about the installation briefly now. So I will talk about the installation briefly so that you can know how to install it. So many PCs and Macs will have Python already installed in it. So many PCs, many computers, so they would have Python installed in it already. Can you mute yourself, everybody? Please mute yourself. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much. So to check if you have Python installed on your Windows PC, so we usually use the start bar for Python to run the command, but we're not going to talk about this much today. So because we want to just introduce you to Python syntax. Now, when you say syntax, what do we mean by syntax? What we mean by syntax is what you write that gives you what you want. So what you write that gives you what you want. So this is exactly what syntax is. So syntax is like if for example, you say print hello world, that's a syntax. So you say print hello world is a syntax. So then we execute it by running it. You will call that execution in programming language. So as we learned in the previous page, Python syntax can be executed by writing directly in the command line. The good thing about Python is we can write it in the command line of any computer and it's going to work. So for example, if you want to start with a programming language, the first thing you write is print hello world. So it's going to print hello world for you. Or by creating a Python file on the server using the .py file extension and run the command. So for example, if you want to run this, you just go to your server and write something.py. Whenever you have an extension of .py, the meaning is I want to write programming in this place in Python. So that's the meaning is we call that a documentation. So we have the same thing in HTML and CSS. When you want to write something in HTML, you say a doc type. So you need to write doc type first. When you want to write something you want to write the codes in Python, what you do is you write .py. So when you save it, it's going to understand that you've written this programming language in this place in Python language. So I will take you to the next slide. So before we come here, let's go to the let's quickly go to the let me stop sharing. Let's quickly go to the file which I told you to open yesterday. Yesterday I talked about how you can have a file open. So I want you to make sure you put everything in place if I say something. So this is what I'm heading to. Now, this is the first thing you do. So if you've not had your Replit open, please make sure you do it. So I'll go back a little bit to make you see how to start with the Replit. So now, what I'm going to do for you now is, just give me 1 minute. Let me stop sharing this. So what I would do is I would show you how to open the Replit. So from the scratch. So you come over here. If you've already opened this web page, I already did mine. I have my account already. If you don't have an account, I can show you how to do it again. So you click on the new tab and you write replit.com. So go to replit.com. So in here, you go to replit.com, you click on it. So once you click on replit.com, it brings you, for example, let's say I don't have an account. Let me sign out. Let me log out. So let's say I don't have an account. You will see something like this. So if you don't have an account, what you do is you click on sign up. So when you click on sign up, it brings you to how to create a Replit account. Do you want to create your account using, please turn your camera on, off. So do you want to create your account with Google or you want to create with GitHub? So whatever you want to create your account with, you are the one that would decide. So what you do is I will do create with my Google account and I click on it. So then it's going to bring me up to this point where we are here. So it's going to load for some time. Now it's open this. So if you've not had an account before, it's going to ask you some other questions. But if you already had an account, it's going to bring you here. So what you do is you click on create repo. So you click here. So once you click on create repo, you can create repo for JavaScript, for Node, for C++, C#, Java, whatever. But we will create repo for Python. So you go and click on Python. So you can, I usually like to label my program, my work per day with the name. So the name I'm going to label this with is introduction, or I say Python class 1. Python class 1. Python class 1 underscore 1. So this is a very good way to keep record of your classes. So after you've done this, then you click on create repo. So once you click on it, so now it's already loaded. So it's loaded. So the first section here is where you have your files. So now you said you already given a name, Python class 1. So you write a code here and you see the result here. So now let's say, for example, you want to write a first programming language in Python. It's called a print statement. The print statement is, for example, in JavaScript, you use console.log. In JavaScript, we use console.log. But in Python, it's pretty easy. You just say print something. So once you say print, so you open a parenthesis. So open a parenthesis, and if you want to print something in which is a letter, for example, if you want to print a letter, what do I mean by letter? If you want to print something which is from A to Z, you have to put a quotation. You have to put a quotation. Because if you say, for example, if I say print hello word, it's going to throw an error. It's going to throw an error. It's going to tell me something is wrong. This is an error syntax. It says it's invalid. There is a problem somewhere. Why? So if I decide to say, I hope you can see my screen, huh? Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I'm seeing it.
All right. So if I say, for example, I say print, let's say 4 plus 2, and I run it. So if I say print 4 plus 2 and run it, so I'm not going to have any problem with the first one. I would only have a problem with the second one. Now, if I run it alone, let's say now it's giving me 6. So 4 plus 2 is 6. So because this is where it's figures. So figures are arithmetic, which is easy for the computer to understand it. But if you're writing a program and you would want to write something, you want to print something which is alphabetical, what do? You have to put it into what? Into quotation. You quote it, you pull this, yeah, you pull this. So once you've done this, it's gonna what? It's gonna make it easy for you to get good results. Now, if you run it, you will get 2 results now. Now you've got hello word and you got 6. So you only had a problem before because you did not pull this into what? Into quotation. So this is how it works for Python. Python usually works easily with numbers, but once it comes to we call this strings in programming language. We're going to talk about all these things, but today just an introduction. So it's just an introduction. So when you have when you've done this, so then we can move on. So it says now let's say, for example, you want to type your name. I want you to all try this. Print your name. Your name is whatever your name is. So remember to put your quotation. And my name is Abiodun. So my name is Abiodun Mustafa. So once I say my name is this, then I'm gonna run it. So now I've got all the 3 printed correctly. So before I had a problem here because I was not doing the right thing. So, but once you do the right thing, you will not have a problem anymore. So this is exactly how Python works. So I would go back to the slide so that we can see more things. So I will be moving between the slide and this software, this interface to work with you. Can you see my screen now? So I'll stop sharing this and I will share this. So If you have a question, type your question in the meeting chat. So feel free to express yourself as much as you can. So let's go back to the slide. Now on the slide, we can see that it says there is something we call indentation in Python. The indentation is very important. Indentation means where do you start writing your codes? Do you start from the end of the page or do you start from the middle of the page? If you're starting from the end of the page, you have to know that if you want to indent something, it has to be that your indentation is intentional, not that you got an indentation by mistake. So I will show you what indentation is. So indentation refers to the spaces at the beginning of a code line. So when you want to write code, do you leave some space or you just continue to start from the first line? So this is one of the things that will give you so much error in Python languages. Where in other programming languages, the indentation is code is for readability only. But indentation in Python is very important. If you indent a programming language in JavaScript, in R, in all the rest, it's just for you to have space to have beautification. But the indentation in Python it means a lot. So Python uses the indentation to indicate there is a block of code. So I will show you an example now. So if you say, for example, you say if 5 is greater than 2, print 5 is greater than 2. So now I'm going to go back again because I want this to be really practical. I don't want to give you tutorials where you would not understand anything. So I want to do the practical thing so that you can really understand everything I'm talking about. This is the best way to learn. So now I'm going to go to the interface to write my code. So now here we go. So now let's say, for example, we want to indent something. I'm going to write a code with just a conditional code. Now, if let's say if 5 is greater than 2, then I put what? I put colon. So once I put colon, you see this thing is amazing, huh? It's even telling me what to write. So if 5 is greater than 2, so then print what? Print 5 is greater than 2. Did you see? So this is an example. Now you can see where the print started from. So the print is starting from pushing itself inside. So if you look at if it's starting from here, and now the print is starting from here. Do you think I did this myself? I did not do it myself. He actually did it by itself because he knew that if it goes to the back, if you have a colon like this, if you have a colon like this, anytime you have a colon like this, you need to have it when you press enter, it will automatically indent itself. It will automatically indent itself. So now it's given an indentation. Now let's run this and see if it's going to be correct. So it says 5 is greater than 2 because 5 is greater than 2. So now if I swap it, I put 2 here. If 2 is greater than 5, print 5 is greater than 2. Now let's see what would happen. It's not going to what? It's not going to print anything because the condition is not met. We call this conditional statement, but this is not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about is the indentation. As you can see, you started the if from the end of the line. So now let me try to push this backward. And let me try to put 5 is greater than what? Is greater than 2. All right. Now push this backward and let's now run it and see what's going to happen. So if I run it, it's going to throw an error. It's yelling. It's shouting at me. You're shouting. What is the problem? Because now you've committed a mistake. You put in a print on the same line with the condition if. When you know that if you're writing the condition, there should be indentation to let you know that we are still writing the same code. We call it block of codes. So when you write block of codes, all of these codes must be indented into each other. The only time you can bring another thing to the first line or to the beginning of the line is if you want to start writing another code, another block of codes. So we have blocks of code. So once a code is still connected with the first one, it has to be indented. Let me show you another example. Let me put this here. Now it's fine. If print else, so if I want to write another condition, I will say else. Else is another condition. Print else, print your answer. Your answer is incorrect. I mean, print your condition. Let me say your condition. Your condition. So now you can see I brought another thing to the beginning of the line. So now let's see if it's going to work. Let's take a look. Did you see it worked? It did not throw any error, because the reason why this is being brought back is another block of code. The first one is a block and the second one is a block. So I can decide to pull this down. It doesn't matter. If I put it down again, it's going to indent it naturally. Now, let me say, for example, I put this 2 here and I put a 5 here. So I swapped it. As you know, 2 is less than 5. But I'm saying if 5 is greater than 2, print 5 is greater than 2. Else, that is to say, if the condition is not met, print your condition is incorrect. So now let's run it and see what's going to print. So when you run this, so now it says your condition is incorrect because the condition is not met. So now we can see how indentation works. So indentation is one of the most important things in Python. Many people, I've seen a lot of my colleagues write codes, and they would continue to say, Musa, I've got problem with my code. What's the problem? And I would just take the laptop and I would tell them, you're indenting it in the wrong way. Just move it backward and wallahi, a problem of 3-4 hours is solved. So this is why we need to be very careful when we write in our programming language, most especially Python, and we need to be careful with indentation. So this is what indentation is. Now let's go back again to the slide. So I want you to practice it the way I'm doing it. Please do not just sit back and listen. Even if you're going to listen today, make sure you watch the video and write the codes yourself. But I would encourage you to not listen alone. You need to have your phone and have a laptop. Use the phone to listen and use the laptop to practice. So you need to do it while the class is on, because if you don't do it when the class is on, you may not be able to do it again. So this is all about indentation. Now let's move on to the next one. So Python will give an error if you skip an indentation. So if you skip an indentation, Python is going to give you what? It's going to throw an error. So example is what I've shown you before. We call this syntax error. So you said if 5 is greater than 2, print 5 is greater than 2. If you ask somebody where is the problem in this code, it will say there's no problem. If it does not understand the programming, Python programming very well, it will think everything is fine. But if you call someone who is a very good programmer, it will tell you that, oh, there is a problem. That there is a problem because you refuse to indent the print statement. So this is how it is. So now let's move on to the next one. So let's talk about, I think we understand. Any questions before we proceed? Does anyone have any questions before we move on?